It is Rasslin. My name is Brandon Walker, and I've got way too much enthusiasm, but I am excited because one of my great dear personal friends has returned here to Barstool. He just made a huge announcement in New York City, and he is back here to talk about that very announcement. He is, of course, All Elite Wrestling President Tony Khan. Tony, always glad to have you here.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be in the office with you. Thank you for having us.
And you did not come along. You did come along. You did not come alone. You brought one of the great stars of AEW, of course, the loquacious and very present Orange Cassidy. Hello, Orange. How the hell are you, brother? He seems good.
He's relaxed.
He seems good.
He's relaxed.
He seems good. This has been a big couple of days for you.
It's been great. We've had a great time here in New York, and thank you for having us. It's been a really great visit, and made this huge announcement of AEW Dynamite Grand Slam, September 22nd.
That's crazy to me because you first of all, this announcement feels like it's a couple years in the making. Because is this the first time AEW's done New York City?
Yes.
Because I know you guys had the first Dynamite October 2019. Then the world goes crazy. And you've done so great down there in Jacksonville, but now you're getting back into the world, and New York City finally gets a show.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been something we've thought about for a long time. For over 2 years, I've been looking at this venue, and I've wanted to run a show at Arthur Ashe Stadium, and it was something we had planned before the pandemic. We were going to come in 2020 and run Arthur Ashe Stadium.
Sure.
And, obviously, it would have been a huge show then. It's going to be a huge show now, but I think it's going to be worth the wait. And I'm so excited to be here in New York with you, and I can't wait to come back to New York with him and go to Arthur Ashe Stadium for the Grand Slam, which hopefully will be one of our biggest events ever on Dynamite. But we've got a pretty huge slate of Dynamites ahead as we go. We're finishing out in Jacksonville, and
yeah, you got Fight for the Fallen. You got all kind of stuff coming up, and we'll get to all that. But you good? You good over there? You fine? You good? So Arthur Ashe is a tennis stadium, one of the greatest and one of the great stadiums we have in this country. Orange, you look like you could have played some tennis. You play a lot of tennis?
No.
I did. I played for a while. But I tore both ACLs, so I had to stop.
Well, you've really, I've noticed, Brandon, since you started doing the show, you've gotten in tremendous physical condition.
You know what, Tony? I'm glad you mentioned that, okay? Because you are the president of All Elite Wrestling. Now, yes, am I 42 years old? Sure. Do I have 4 kids? Yes. But am I getting in the best shape of my life for a reason? Who knows? Who knows? Who fucking knows, right? So anyway, how important to you is this city of New York for AEW?
It's one of the most important cities to AEW. It's one of the most important cities in the world. And in wrestling, New York is one of the first cities, if not the first city, that comes to mind. And in the wrestling business, New York City is sacred. And we've wanted to come and do a show here for the fans for a really long time. And like I said, the pandemic made it very challenging for many reasons. But here we are announcing what is, I think, the biggest episode of Dynamite we've ever done.
I'm going to tell you the truth. So I moved here 2 years ago from Mississippi. So that's between Alabama, Tennessee, and Louisiana. I moved here a couple of years ago from Mississippi, and one of the reasons I was so excited to move here, I would just be able to go to wrestling shows. I'd be able to go to concerts, wrestling shows, baseball games. I'd be able to go to all that stuff. And then COVID happened, and I haven't been able. So when you announced yesterday that you're not only coming to New York, but coming to Arthur Ashe Stadium, like, what? Who would have thought to put a show at Arthur Ashe Stadium? How'd you come up with that stadium?
To be honest, I was looking at all the best stadiums in the world, and I used something they call Google, and I was looking at like the best stadiums, and one of the best stadiums had been under our nose the whole time, and I saw Arthur Ashe Stadium, and I thought, that's amazing, and they have a roof now.
Yeah.
So, if there's weather challenges, you got a great backup plan, and it's the greatest city in the world. We've wanted to do a show for so long. Arthur Ashe, I almost wondered why nobody had done a show there. It's been under our nose this whole time. So we reached out, and they were super positive about it. I was thrilled, and I couldn't pick a better venue to come to in New York.
So New York City you guys are going to conquer New York City very, very soon, September 22nd with the Grand Slam at Arthur Ashe. But you guys are getting away from Daily's Place again. Daily's Place has been awesome. Jacksonville's been awesome. It's been a great place to watch wrestling. But the world is opening back up. You've already announced Chicago. You've already announced Full Gear, I believe, for St. Louis. You're getting back into the world right now. How's it feel to get back? Not on your feet, because you guys have been on your feet, but get back out in the world and see fans again.
It's so special. A lot of the shows we're doing in a lot of the cities we're visiting are shows we had planned and announced before the pandemic. So a lot of these are over a year in the making. And to be able to go back to the cities you mentioned, to be here in New York, to be able to finally put together AEW Dynamite Grand Slam, to be able to visit cities we had announced shows in, like Houston and Milwaukee, St. Louis, so many great cities across the country, and also cities that we had a great stop in the early run of Dynamite, to be able to go back to Charlotte, Austin, Dallas area, and Miami. It's great. And I'm really excited about this Welcome Back tour. Starting in Miami with Road Rager.
Sure.
In July, we've got Road Rager, 2 weeks of Fighter Fest in Texas, and Fight for the Fallen in Charlotte, which is a really special event. We've done some really great charitable things there, and I think that's going to be one of our biggest Dynamites too. And to have a month of really special Dynamites with Fighter Fest, Fight for the Fallen, and of course our first Road Rager, I think it's going to be a really great way to go back on the road. But I'm also excited for the last shows in Daly's Place. This week we have a great show.
Daly's Place is so awesome.
It's great.
It's like if you had to be somewhere. I mean, you guys made we went there, and it's just the venue is beautiful, and the atmosphere it creates is amazing. And I want to give you some credit. Not that I never do that. I give you credit all the time. But when you guys had the pay-per-view crowd, and you've adapted to now putting people on the stage, and you kind of changed your tunnels a little bit, it looks incredible, and it creates an atmosphere that is unmatched. When you guys get away, I'm gonna like the new crowd pops and the new everything, but I'm gonna be nostalgic for Daly's Place.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because I've got a homecoming show planned, and we'll still make a few appearances in Daly's Place each year, and it will still be a big part of the Dynamite plan and Rampage also. So I'm excited to have Daly's Place still be part of AEW. And actually, I will say this: I am planning to go back to Daly's Place pretty regularly. I think it's great. It's been great for the fans, and I want to reward the local fans, because you were there and you've been to the shows, and you've been to been down there and seen it. When we have these great audiences that have been coming on a weekly basis, it's a lot of the same people you see at the pay-per-view shows. That there may be thousands of them at a pay-per-view, but every week we get a solid crowd of hundreds of people, and at the beginning of the pandemic, when we could only run at like 20-25% capacity.
Right. What's that, like 400 or 500 people?
No. It was about 1,000 people.
Okay.
And so it's a 5,000 seat stadium. So I started at 20%, and we did these shows, and we had at all out. We had about 1,000 people, and at 20%, a little over. And I went to 25%. In Full Gear Revolution, we had like 1,250, and you were down there.
Yes.
And it was that was a pretty consistent crowd. And for shows like the Brody Lee Memorial, Winter is Coming, we had that consistent crowd. And even for some, for all these Dynamites consistently, we had crowds 700-800 people showing up every week, and it's like it was a territory. And this city, which is such
a territory, yeah, I like that.
Yeah, and going back to the old territorial system, we really ran Jacksonville like it was a territory for over a year, and there was consistent fan support, and I really want to thank those people over and over again, because the whole country benefited from that. And I think not just America, but people all over the world watched Dynamite, and having real fan reactions instead of everything being virtual fans, I can't put a price tag on that.
So you guys will be venturing out. Daly's Place has been awesome, but you'll be going to states all over the country. Orange, hey, Brandon Walker, Barstool Sports. What's your favorite state?
I like states. I'm hungry. This is good job.
Okay.
I understand.
He's got a big match coming up, Caesar Bononi.
I brought you some Pringles if you like. If you're hungry. So
there you go.
Just go ahead.
That'll hopefully keep him busy, and it's good to keep him fed, because he's got a big.
It's not chips at all, Tony.
Yeah, I gathered.
It's Pringles.
I gathered that, Brandon. Oh, it's great.
So there's no chips?
There's no chips.
Well,
we got you some coffee.
I gotta keep him. Oh, but there's some coffee.
If you like some coffee.
Oh, but we did get some coffee. Thank you very much. That is great.
Coffee?
Well, you know what? So
I got the sense that you didn't really like that. Now, I have a few requests for the New York City shows, and maybe not for Arthur Ashe, because that's a big one, right? They're all big, but you're also going to be doing Newark.
We're doing Newark the week before, and we've already sold about over 9,000, close to 10,000 tickets.
That's pretty damn good.
That's great.
I haven't bought a ticket yet. We're gonna be good. We're gonna be good.
No, I think you have a press pass.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't say that I'm in the press, but sure.
Well, you can use the press pass. You don't have to be in the press.
Very good. Thank you very much.
This is the wrestling business. I'm very loose. This isn't the National Football League.
So, well, I guess I'll scratch that Dolphins-Jags game off the list.
You're also welcome. I don't think you're. I know there's people from Barstool that aren't necessarily welcome at our events, but you're welcome.
No, that's exactly right. Yes, I would actually be in the highest percentage of the company being able to attend an NFL game.
I think I can.
Not all of us can do that.
I think I can get most of you guys in.
Most, not all. Yeah, most.
I think I can get him in.
I think
I'm gonna be like
that's quite a challenge.
I'm like Kissinger. I'm gonna turn those guys. Those guys are gonna make up. I'm gonna get them on the same page.
Let me tell you something. Your work in professional wrestling that you do, and when you're able to create such incredible content and stuff. If you were able to do that, it would supersede everything you've ever done in wrestling.
So I get the beef a little bit. Like
Yeah.
Roger, I'm very close to Roger,
Yeah.
and like so I don't know Dave well, but he seems like a good guy.
Well, it's all wink, wink, nod, nudge, nudge to Dave, right? It's all like, I have a huge enemy in Roger Goodell, wink, something like that.
Well, he's like, I guess so. It's like wrestling stuff.
I assume Roger's probably like that too, though.
Well, Roger's great. I mean,
Yeah.
I honestly, I don't think Roger spends a lot of time thinking about it.
Yeah, that's probably right too.
But I feel like everyone should get on the same page and be friends. So maybe I don't know. I like bringing people together. So that'd be a fun thing to do sometime.
So one of the things I wanted to, at the New York show, can I ride to the ring riding on Luchasaurus's shoulders like Jungle Boy does?
I don't. I mean, you know what? That I'll have to talk to.
That's how I want to go to my
talk
seat.
to the trainers.
That's how I want to go to my seat.
Luchasaurus is a very. I'm sure he can handle it.
He's a big guy.
He's a big guy. I don't think the trainers would have any problem with him putting you on.
What weight do I have to get down to? I'm 248 now.
You know what? I have to say seriously. I'm not BSing you. You look a lot. You look great. It's unbelievable. What have you lost? How much weight have you lost?
26 pounds.
That is since you started this show.
Yeah, since after that, since April 1st.
That's great.
Yeah, started the show in December, and we came down and saw you guys for Revolution and the Dynamite before Revolution.
Since April 1st, you lost 26 pounds.
26 pounds.
That's
yeah.
awesome. I saw you doing a lot of rowing.
Do a lot of rowing. Well, I got COVID. That helped. That's what got me started. I lost 12 pounds due to COVID. I was like, well, now I might as well lose the rest of it.
No shit.
Yeah, that's what got me started.
That's great.
Yeah. Orange, what's the most weight you've ever lost? Cool.
Oh, sorry. I don't know.
Cool.
So he's got a big match. He's focusing because he's got this big match against Cesar Bononi. The Wingmen have told him he's the worst dressed wrestler in AEW. We have to go back to Jacksonville tomorrow, and he's wrestling the Wingmen's Cesar Bononi, who's a bigger man than him.
He's a big guy.
He's got to train for that, and you guys have kept him well fed on a steady diet of coffee and empty chip things.
I'll get him some chips, Tony.
No,
I didn't know you didn't put that in the rider for him.
No, I don't. He doesn't have a writer, to be fair. He's pretty easygoing, but it's just common courtesy, really, Brandon.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
We have Cheez-Its.
It's good. Well, it's good. Nevertheless, I think he'll be fine, but I am looking forward to seeing him wrestle on Dynamite. We have a really big show this week. We have tomorrow night. It's very unusual being on Friday night, but I think it's good because we're introducing wrestling fans with Rampage coming.
Yeah. I was telling him something before the show. He wasn't listening at all. But I was telling him something. It was basically like talking to that sign. But I was like, weirdly, and I think you might get this, I know that it's not it's out of the ordinary to have to do a show on Friday night because you guys Wednesday night and you have that set time. So in the summer, because of your own TNT, you have to adapt, right? And you have to move around.
The NBA playoffs. Yeah.
It makes me nostalgic for when WCW used to have to do that. It does. It's like weird. It's like and it's like a bonus when I get home on Friday. I'm not used to watching wrestling, but then at like 10 o'clock, I can just lay on the couch and watch wrestling.
Hey, guess what, man? You're going to be able to watch wrestling at 10 o'clock on Friday,
I
starting
know.
August 13th
I know.
on TNT.
Yeah.
And it's good to get fans in the habit of watching wrestling Friday at 10. So there is, while it sucks on Wednesdays not having Dynamite, it's
Right.
almost over. We'll be back on June 30th, and then we're back live every week, and no tape shows, no more pandemic shows. We're live every week. June 30th, the last show in Jacksonville. We're going to thank the fans the right way. I'm going to announce tomorrow night on Dynamite a huge main event and some huge matches, and it should be a great card for June 30th. And we'll say goodbye to Jacksonville. Thank you to the fans. And it'll be, like I said, the last of the pandemic shows and really the first of this long run where we're going to be live every week. We'll go do Road Rager. We'll do Fighter Fest. We'll do Fight for the Fallen. And it's going to be great. But I definitely am promising people it's going to be a new era in AEW. You're going to see a lot of changes. And then August 13th, the Rampage era begins.
I can't wait. I have a couple more questions. I haven't seen you in a little bit. I wanted to ask you right here. So, Double or Nothing was your last pay-per-view.
Yes.
And I'm not I'm not bullshitting. I tweeted it. I said it on this show. I said it when you're not here. I'm going to say it while you're here. I thought it was the best wrestling pay-per-view I've seen the last 2 or 3 years. I'm serious. Like I went into it first. The energy of the fans carried the night. It helped everything. But match just built. Match 1 built into match 2. Match 2 built into match 3. You know, the opener with Hangman Page. Not even the opener because there was the dark match with the 2 ladies.
Yes.
Serena Deeb and Rio.
Serena and Rio had a tremendous match.
Fantastic. Yeah. And I was watching that. I'd already bought it, and I was already getting ready to watch the show. But watching that, I was like, this could be a special night. These fans are really going crazy for this match. Now, it was a very good match. And then I watched Hangman Page and Brian Cage. That was the opener, and the tag match was next. It just kept going and kept going and kept building all the way through Stadium Stampede, of course. We'll talk about that in a second. But the triple threat match for the title was incredible. Orange, I thought that was a great match.
He got screwed.
Well, yeah.
He got screwed.
But I just, I enjoyed watching you get screwed. No, that's not what I enjoyed. I enjoyed watching the athletic competition.
He was great in the match. He's been he's one of the brightest stars we have, and through the pandemic, he's been one of the best things that's happened to us. And I can't wait for the fans to be back watching him wrestle every week because he wasn't. I don't think, and he's look, I think he's one of the most popular stars in wrestling, and I think he's also a great technical wrestler. And I'm not sure that I think the best environment for him is a packed arena, a packed house, and fans going nuts. But he's shined through the pandemic, and I think he's grown a lot as a wrestler. And now that the arena is back, and now that we're packing arenas again, I think it's going to be a big year for him.
When did he tell you all this?
Hey, remember that time I beat Chris Jericho twice?
The Mimosa Mayhem match. I remember that. That was awesome. Yeah, that was cool.
It was a big pandemic for him.
I enjoyed that. So double or nothing. I want to the Stadium Stampede, right? Urban Meyer, just what? How did that come about?
I was in his office in the night before because I work in football too. We work together.
Of course, yeah.
So I was clocking out of my one job and getting ready to punch into one of my 3. I work pretty much a 24-hour shift, sometimes shift, rotating between 3 things and multitasking, and it's a lot of fun. And Urban and I were finishing up, and we were going over the roster, the Jags roster, in his office, talking over players. And then he was packing his briefcase, getting ready to go home. And I said, tomorrow, do you have a little bit of time tomorrow? And he said, yeah, what's up? And I said, can I ask you for a huge favor? And he said, what's up? And I told him what it was and walked him through it. And he said, yeah, man, sure. And I told him Charlie is really going to love it because Charlie's a huge wrestling fan. Charlie is, like myself, is a very good friend of Rick Flair. Charlie Strong. Yes, thank you. Yeah. And to many of the Barstool people, Charlie, of course, Charlie's a great football coach. He's a legendary college football coach. And
former Florida defensive coordinator, won a national title, former Texas head football coach.
Yes, Louisville.
Great coach.
Louisville.
Yeah, phenomenal coach.
Great coach, great person. And Charlie, huge wrestling fan. Urban had not watched as much wrestling as Charlie, but he was like, he's come to some of the shows. Yeah. And not having a wrestling background, he didn't know what he was getting into. He came over, his first one, I believe, for AEW was the Crossroads around Revolution when Shaq was there. And everybody told me that when Shaq went through the table, Urban went nuts.
Really?
Urban went nuts. And people were like, dude, Urban didn't know what he was getting into when he came to this. And they were, by the end of it, when Shaq went through the table, he was like, ah! And
but isn't that the way it goes?
That's the way it goes. Yeah. And so I knew he liked it. And then he came back, and we had Mike Tyson come by when we were starting kind of what was the beginning of a new phase when we're, not having wrestling competition head-to-head on Wednesday nights in April. And that was a really important loop. And I believed in putting a lot into the April 14th episode. And it's one of my favorite episodes we've ever done. And it was through the, tough to do it through the pandemic. And I think it still holds up as a special episode because it opened up with MJF and Mike Tyson. Max tries to buy off Mike Tyson. Right. That's a great promo. Then we run down this card. You've got Pac and Phoenix versus the Young Bucks, which is such a special tag match, rated 5 stars in the Observer. And a lot of fans thought it was one of the best matches of the year. And build into a great card. You ended up having Jericho and Dax with Mike Tyson as the enforcer, which was a really important match and built mainstream audience for us. And then Darby for the TNT title in the main event with Matt Hardy. They had the Falls Count Anywhere match. That is one of the most watched matches we've ever had, and one of the biggest matches of Darby's reign. And that April 14th show ended up being really, really important for us around that time. You
guys do such a great job of, obviously your pay-per-views are good. I mentioned Double or Nothing already, but you do such a great job of Dynamite's good week to week, but you were able to put those tentpole Dynamites every now and then, like the one you just mentioned, and like obviously September 22nd, Arthur Ashe Stadium is going to be a benchmark Dynamite, I would assume, just knowing you guys. How often? Let me try to get the phrasing.
I have a lot of stuff up my sleeve, Brandon.
Let me get the phrasing right here.
While I'm not going to bullshit you. I have a lot of stuff up my sleeve in the next year.
A lot going on.
Nobody knows. But yeah, a lot. It's going to be a big year.
Okay. Well, I can't wait. I mean, it's been a big year. But how do you, the pacing of these special events, how far out do you like, hey, this Dynamite's going to be something special?
You know, very often I have a calendar mapped out, and you can make changes, you know, up until weeks and months before these events. Sometimes I've come up with something on the fly and felt like we had to do something, like the St. Patrick's Day Slam, because I was building up this Britt Baker Thunder Rosa feud, and I wanted them to have. Which was
fantastic.
Thank you. I spent months working with them. And Britt is our champion and one of the best wrestlers in the world. Thunder Rosa has come into AEW and really become not only just part of the family, but one of our great stars and somebody who's really important to us. And there were months and months put into that feud. And Britt went up at Beach Break, which is actually named after his finishing move, the special Dynamite, like we're talking about, named after his finish move.
Well, that's got to make you very proud.
Yeah, he was really that was his reaction when I told him I'm calling the show Beach Break. And by the way, it was a great event, and I don't know if you remember, but the Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford wedding, it was a great moment.
Yeah, that was something as well.
He's out of the cake.
The Britt Baker match that you mentioned.
Yeah.
I don't know what my expectations were going in. Thunder Rosa, Britt Baker. I think it's the best match in the history of Dynamite. That's my personal opinion. That is my personal opinion. And that launched, Britt Baker was already on her way, and I feel like that launched her to a level. I think she's one of the biggest stars that you have, and she, of course, got the great coronation at Double or Nothing. Just talk about her rise through the ranks, because this isn't something this feels like a very organic rise of just somebody who has found something.
She found something. Since her heel turn, has become... You know, she rightfully so won the Most Improved Wrestler award. I think that's to say the least. Right. And she went from being a really great wrestler to being somebody who really transcends and is a face of the sport. And when she's talked about being the face of women's wrestling, I mean, that's great. But I think Britt is one of the faces of wrestling. Forget about gender or divisions. I think Britt is one of the great wrestlers in the world. And she gets so much heat, but she's gotten over. She adds so much to our show. And her character development. I mean, Britt was a solid promo when we started this, but to watch Britt in the last year and a half develop as a promo has been really something. And, you know, to be honest, I was the one who told Britt, Tony, Schiavone, I put them together and said, I like matchmaking in wrestling. It's one of my favorite things. I can talk about that. But with Britt and Tony, they got along fine, but she didn't know about Tony's Starbucks past. And we were on the Jericho cruise with all the smart marks. And I thought, like, man, this is the crowd where, like, sometimes you say these things and they go over the crowd's head. Right. Like, if there's, like, 20,000 people there and Britt talked about Tony working at Starbucks, whoosh. You know, most people probably whoosh. The Jericho cruise, people are going to be like, boo! And, like, they turned on her so fast. It was like, and that was her heel heat promo. And then going from there, she got more comfortable. Some people tried to say, I remember people trying to say it was cringe. When people don't like something, they say that's cringe.
I hate when people say it's cringe. I hate that word.
It's like, great. Come up with a better word. Most of the people who are like, that was cringe, like, dude, you're probably cringe, bro.
When's the last time you looked at something or saw something and you actually cringed? It's very rare.
To be honest, no joke.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
Not to make light, I know I've been like fun on the thing. One of the last times I remember really reeling back and cringing was when he got knocked out in the match. And that was really serious, and that was a scary situation. And that was like, I was like, cringe. You know, there's times like that. That's cringe. But, like, that's what cringe is. But, like, when people are like, that was cringe, I didn't like that promo, it's like bullshit. She did fine, and she's gotten more and more comfortable. She's a great promo, and she's only gotten better. But you have to, like, let people grow. When people thought Britt wasn't going to be a good promo, it blew my mind. Yeah. Like, such a young wrestler, so new in their character. Let her get comfortable. Let her get her bearings. She's fucking great.
It's fantastic.
And so... that's been really special. So I wanted to build up the St. Patrick's Day Slam. That was one I came up with a little bit late, but it was like, hey, it's on St. Patrick's Day. what the hell? Like, let's get the shirts made. Let's do it. Let's make it an event. Thunder Rosa, I talked to her about getting green gear. And
Yes.
her first gear, actually, her first thing looked like this. God bless Melissa. And like, I was like, no, I think like you should get like a real green, like a green.
Did you say no? That's my look. You can't have it.
Well, I didn't know. I actually ended up. I was like, it's so good. I ended up getting the. I stole it from her. I stole like most great things in wrestling. I stole it from her. And but instead, I got her, real green gear, and it's iconic. That gear she wore, the emerald green that Thunder Rosa wore. So, and then the two of them went out and had, in my opinion, like you said, not just one of the best matches on Dynamite, but I thought one of the best not just one of the best matches on Dynamite, but I thought one of the best AEW matches.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. I did limit it to Dynamite when I said that, but you're right. It's one of the best AEW matches.
It was great, but thanks for talking about it because it's it was a really, really special moment. I think it was one of the great things we've done. One of the best matches on Dynamite.
Well, didn't you put it like right into the opening of the show? The bloody face, the crimson mask. You put that like it was in the opening next week or very, very soon.
The next week.
I mean, you guys do a great job of recognizing when you got something. So
thank you. And if we make a mistake, I like to think like I do a good job of pivoting off it. Like there have been stuff that's not perfect, and you don't always get stuff right. But like the key is like not to like double down, triple down, quadruple down, and shove. Like if something doesn't work, like I like to say I have my finger on the pulse. Nobody bats 1,000, but there's no reason to if you're throwing a pitch and it's getting crushed, don't keep throwing the same pitch. Maybe switch it up. And there's been times like that. And I'll be honest, there's been good examples of this. I don't need to belabor them all, but a great example I think would be like I was not, and he would be totally fine with me saying this because he's doing great now. I was not as into like the broken Matt Hardy as probably some people.
Sure.
And that thing, I've said this on Jericho's podcast, the thing where he did the time travel, that is the craziest Dynamite of all time. Other than the Atlanta tapings, which we could do like hours on, the Atlanta tapings, the show before the Atlanta tapings.
And the Atlanta tapings for everybody, that's just right at the beginning of COVID,
the
where
beginning
you were just trying to figure it out.
The second week of COVID, where, like as things were scaling up, places are shutting down left and right. Yeah. At Daly's place, the city had tightened down, where everyone's trying to get their handle on what is COVID.
Right.
We really testing was very limited, and it was a volunteer crew. We were only allowed to have 10 people in the entire amphitheater at any given time. So my plan, but I had to keep the show going. I wasn't going to breach my contract. So we had singles matches. I couldn't do tag matches. Yeah. So you have the cameramen around ringside. I had three cameramen down there.
So
there's
1, 2,
3. Shivani on commentary is 4. A referee's 5. Brandy was timekeeping announcing is 6. Okay. And then you'd have 2 wrestlers in the ring, 7 and 8. I'm backstage, the only person in Gorilla, 9. And then I had Cody and Jimmy Havoc open the show. I had Kenny on commentary, and then Cody switched out, was the guy on commentary, and then Kenny went back to go work the main event with Sammy. And then later in the show, I had Kenny and Sammy work this really great the only truly empty arena show. Like Hager and Moxley did an empty arena match that we taped for when we really needed the pandemic content, like the month of April that we were talking about. But like for a live Dynamite, by far the craziest one was this one. The next week was pretty crazy too, because I had written 6 weeks of TV that ended up thankfully being 4 weeks of TV and 4 weeks of dark. But it could have been 7 weeks of TV even. But that was the next week. But like anyway, point being, in this pandemic, it was one of the craziest things we've ever been through. And like he was somebody that came through very big for us and really like crushed it for us in the weeks ahead. But this thing I'm bringing up, Matt Hardy and Chris, they were like trying to talk me into Matt. Especially Chris really liked the idea of Matt doing the telephone. Dude, I'm lucky these guys are even there. And so the other people are outside. I have 10 people at any given time, and the people that are in the thing I can rotate in, rotate out. And at the end of the night, after Kenny and Sammy, we went to break, and the place is empty anyway. So I told Sammy to get under the ring and like wait. And then when Matt Hardy came down, had Sammy come out from under, because I was trying to set up the Sammy and Chris versus Kenny and Matt Hardy tag, which ended up being then when we came back and did the next live show at Daly's Place May 6th, that ended up being like, I don't know if you remember that street fight. That's where Sammy got hit with a golf cart. Right. That's where Kenny did the moonsault off the scissor lift. That's where the whole Inner Circle got back together for the first time and beat down Kenny and Matt Hardy, held them up, the Inner Circle name and lights, and that was what set up the first Stadium Stampede. Sure. So it's trying to build that stuff up from there. Because we were going to have to pivot.
Which is chaotic. Everything you're describing is chaotic.
But like the idea of the teleportation, I was like, all right, I'm just lucky you guys. All right, guys. Right. Like, so sometimes at that point,
let's dial it back.
It was a miracle the show was even coming off. So the teleportation. So, but anyway, to get where we are with Big Money Matt and the stuff we're doing now, I think like I'm there's like sometimes if you don't like an idea, you can move on and do something. And I think like Matt Hardy and the stuff he's done with Private Party, Butcher and Blade, The Bunny, and now with Christian Cage, it's super compelling. And he's become like a really central figure in the show. Like I said, his match with Darby was huge.
Yeah, he's like a Swiss Army knife because you move him from place to place, and he's always going to get a great match out of a guy, and it's always a great spotlight for a guy.
I hope like people don't pull the headlines from this, and like you don't see like aggregators, because like anything you say, the aggregators pull. And like I love Matt, and Matt's done an awesome job. So I would like the aggregation to be like, because like I said earlier, how great a job he's done. And when he came in, I mentioned earlier the Darby match, and what one of the most important TV matches we've ever built to, honestly, because that was probably of Darby's 10 title defenses. That was probably by far the biggest one.
I don't think wrestling media usually does anything like that, or overreacts to anything, or just takes one sentence and presents it like, I don't know. Orange, you good? Cool.
A lot of times the things he says, they pull out his quotes and misinterpret them. That's a big problem he has.
I would understand that. In fact, when he said that earlier, I couldn't believe it.
I was shocked.
I could not believe it. I have one question that this is just a wrestling nerd question. I'm a wrestling nerd.
Yeah.
That you are too.
Me too.
So one, I gotta phrase it right. I think the biggest strength of AEW is its roster. Now that's a very milquetoast thing to say. I mean, the strength of most companies are their roster. But the reason I think the strength of AEW is its roster, so many. It's such a balance of legends and guys that are on top in their prime right now and up-and-comers. And there's so many guys. You guys have right now 2 hours of TV, and you also have the Dark. You have Dark Elevation. You have Elevation, and now you've got Rampage coming August 13th. Did I get it right?
Yeah.
Of course I got it right. So you've got all that. But you've got so many players. So many guys. That guy right there, Sammy Guevara, Darby Allin, MJF. I'm just naming the young guys right now.
We're coming up on Jungle Boy versus Kenny
Jungle
Omega,
Boy.
the number
It's
one
going
contender
to be an
Boy.
incredible match. But you've got so many guys that can just give you great matches and give you great entertainment. The juggling act you have to do to make sure everybody's getting their minutes. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's where Rampage more TV time is going to be huge, because we have 2 hours of TV and we have these great streaming platforms, and we have Dark and Dark Elevation. And they've been great, but I think now with Rampage coming in, it's 50% more TV time, going from 2 hours to 3 hours. So it's huge for the roster, and I still plan to expand the roster and add stars to the top of the roster, because I believe in having the top stars of the present married with some of the great stars of the past, some of whom are still active and great stars of the present.
Sure.
Like Sting, who is very much a star of today.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, I don't know how you could screw it up with Sting, because having worked with Sting now for like 7 months, this is the easiest, greatest man I have ever known. He wanted to work. Yeah. And he wasn't looking for like $20 bajillion either. I'm going to be honest with you. Like, he would be very useful to any wrestling company in the world. And he wanted to do stuff. He was like looking to come, and he's at TV every week.
He's also not half-assing it, and you can tell that. You can tell that watching. There's there's a lot of actors where you see them do a movie and you see the paycheck hanging out of their pocket. There's a lot of wrestlers maybe at the end that come in. Yeah, they're in the company, but are they really? And he's not half-assing it at all. He's fucking there, and he's a critical part.
He's a huge part of the roster.
In fact, Dynamite. So
I count him as a star of the present. There's some stars of the past.
Like Chris Jericho's a star of the present.
Absolutely.
One of the biggest stars.
Star of the present, 100.
Yeah.
Chris Jericho's a world champion star. That's not it. And Sting, people might have called a star of the present. Sting's very much now a star of the present also.
Yeah.
Chris Jericho, no question, world champion. But, Sting hadn't wrestled a match in many years and came back in this year. He's had 2 great matches and 2 very different kinds. And he's very much a proof. He's still a star of the present. We have other great stars of the past. Arn Anderson, Jake the Snake Roberts, who are still very much a part of the show. And we bring in legends like Bret Hart and Greg Valentine. And even if they're not there every week, it could just be one appearance, or maybe they'll come back. Try to acknowledge history. And we've brought in, wrestling legends, even executives like J.J. Dillon and Eric Bischoff.
Yeah.
And so I respect the history of wrestling as much as anyone, just like you do. And I love it. But also, I believe that there's a lot of mileage. And another wrestler who hadn't wrestled in years, who's one of the great stars of the present, is Christian Cage. Who,
sure, yeah.
I don't know. Somebody who he's ready to work. He's shown me too. But he's really like, if people thought Christian was going to come back and be like a part-time wrestler, bullshit. Like, he's come back and worked his ass off. Christian has been one of the hardest working people on this roster since he got to AEW, and his matches with Kazarian, Will Hobbs, Matt Sydal, tremendous. And then the match he had with Angelico, I thought was really great.
Yeah, it was very good. I believe it opened Dynamite last week, right?
Yeah, it was great.
It was fantastic.
We were all raving about it.
And you mentioned you mentioned the kids. Yeah, he wouldn't shut up about it.
I know.
I understand. So you mentioned the Kazarian match. I thought that was his first match, I believe, in AEW.
That was his first match.
And I was like, those guys took their time and told such a great story in the ring. It's very good. Christian Cage is good. I love the signing of Mark Henry too, by the way.
Thank you.
I just because you didn't mention before the pay-per-view, I don't think you mentioned at all that you were going to announce that you signed somebody, right? He just walked out of Double or Nothing, or Tony or somebody, whoever's in the ring said, "Hey, by the way, we signed Mark Henry." I'm like, shit, Mark Henry? It's a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
I love that signing.
Yeah, thank you.
I love Mark Henry is just so he's like a wrestling fan's wrestler these days, because he thinks what I think, I believe, when I listen to him, when I watch him work. I don't know if that makes sense to you.
It does
at
make
all.
sense. I talked to him for 45 minutes the other day, and as a coach, as a mentor, he's going to be so valuable to everyone on the roster, male and female, because he has such a great perspective, particularly the larger people with size and how to use that size. But he has insights for everyone and for smaller people, because he's worked, big person versus small person matches. He's so insightful and intelligent, and as a coach, he's adding a lot. He's going to be great as a scout, but he also still has gas in the tank as an athlete and as a wrestler. So I'm really excited about Mark. We were talking for so long about one of my heroes, as somebody who's intersected the worlds, and not 1% is important and influential as the stuff he did. But and myself, but having intersected the worlds of football and wrestling, I could never dream to make all the contributions to both that Ernie Ladd made.
Sure, Big Cat Ernie Ladd, who's a football Hall of Famer and a wrestling Hall of Famer. He's not in the NFL Hall of Fame. He's in the AFL Hall of Fame, but he's one of the great football players and a great Chargers legend, and a great man, and a great wrestler, a great wrestling booker, one of the maybe the first black booker who ran a territory. And Mark and I were talking about this at length, and he said, I was telling him how much I love Ernie Ladd and respect Ernie Ladd, and then he brought up, how close he was with Ernie Ladd, and I didn't know all about all that, and how much Ernie Ladd taught him, and it made sense about how to work and about his promos. And he said, "Can you hear the Ernie Ladd in my voice?" And I was, "Oh man, I never did," but in his diction and stuff. And well, now that you say that, I'm going to listen for it.
Yeah.
Because Big Cat Ernie Ladd had a very distinct voice and pattern, the way he spoke and stuff like that.
And now the learning tree and stuff, not to compare, they're the exact same guy, but they're both, great minds. And I never got to know Ernie Ladd, but he's one of my heroes. And then Mark Henry making these points, and they both want people to come sit under the learning tree, and hopefully he can bring, that same kind of legacy of people sitting under the learning tree and learning from Mark Henry, like Mark learned from Ernie Ladd.
So we'll get you out of here pretty quick. I know you guys are busy as shit though. You're in New York, you're living it up. By the way, I've been here a year and a half. So Orange, if you need any restaurant recommendations, I got you.
He does need to eat up. He's got a big match tomorrow.
Anything? Just you want to just talk a little bit?
Well, I can hype Dynamite if he's not going to talk. You want to talk?
When do we eat pizza? What is that?
Actually,
when is that bit?
You know what? I'll work on that.
It's fun.
We had 5 John's of Bleecker Street pizzas delivered right before the show. Best pizza in the city that I've had. I can only afford like 3 of them.
On Dave's dime though, right?
Sometimes. He
seems like he runs a very loose ship around here.
Yeah, Dave's mostly in Miami these days. Yeah, he's mostly unless it's a famous person or like a 21-year-old Instagram model, he's not really paying attention.
Well, this is a great place you guys have here. We do have to get back down to Jacksonville. I would like, tomorrow night we have a huge Friday Night Dynamite. We're trying to get people in the habit of watching on Friday nights and we're going back to Wednesday Night Dynamite soon, which will be back live every Wednesday. But we have a huge show tomorrow night on TNT.
So you got Darby Allin against in the handicap match because he chose not to have Sting with him.
He's not going to replace Sting. He said, "I'd rather and he wanted to prove he could do it on his own." So Darby's going to wrestle the Men of the Year, Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page, 2-on-1. That's going to be incredible, and it's a lot to try to overcome. But if anybody could do it, I really believe Darby can. And we're going to have, again, as I mentioned, Orange Cassidy is going to wrestle Caesar of the Wingmen. I'd maybe close on that because I'll let him do his promo at the end. He's going to do a big promo. And then we'll have, and I want to give him time to think. He's a big thinker. Yeah. So also having the debut, which I think we haven't talked much about, but is really dope, that Arn Anderson's son, I mentioned Arn, his son
Brock
is debuting.
Anderson,
Brock Anderson debuting, Cody teaming with
By
him.
the way, no paternity test needed on that one. That's the most Arn Anderson looking kid I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, he's definitely Aaron's kid. He's like I hear it's funny. I get that.
You look at him and you're like, that's Arn Anderson's kid.
I've been watching him train, and I'm really impressed. Cody's done a great job with him.
Yeah.
And QT's done a good job with there in solo. That should be a good match. I'm really impressed with QT's lately. QT's wrestling is off the charts, and he's in the office. He sometimes leaves something to be desired, but as a person, he leaves something to be desired sometimes. But honestly, he's doing a great job. And I would be remiss if I didn't bring up at length. I have a couple more matches to talk about. This MMA cage fight with Jake Hager and Wardlow. Jake Hager and Wardlow, the last time they wrestled on TV, they had a match. They tore it down.
Two beasts of men. They're fantastic wrestlers. They had that great match on Dynamite. I remember it very, very well.
And now they're going into the cage, and I'm really excited. It's going to be 3 rounds, 5-minute rounds, and the only way to win is stoppage or knockout or tap out. And I'm really excited. Tap out, knockout, stoppage. I don't know how it's going to end. It could be great.
That's just going to be a war.
It's going to be nuts. I can't wait for that. That's huge. Also have a big women's match. Julia Hart, the Varsity Blondes, a very hot act. She's doing great. And the Varsity Blondes, great team. She's been tremendous with them, and I'm really excited for Julia Hart to wrestle against Penelope Ford.
Sure. The
bad girl, the super bad girl. And like I said, Orange, you had some time to think about it. You got this big match.
Yeah, I don't. You're gonna have to explain to me again who the wingmen are.
It's those guys. It's Caesar and Peter, J.D. Drake. J.D. Drake, and the Hollywood hunk, Ryan Nemeth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, they said you don't dress well. Apparently, they've been texting you. They say they text you. You left them on red.
Yeah, I don't text.
Yeah, and I've noticed that. And you don't have an iPhone. Your phone, when I text you, it's green.
Correct.
Yeah.
They really called him the worst dressed wrestler in the world, or in AEW?
The worst dressed wrestler in AEW. There's definitely some guys who are pretty poorly dressed right now. But the worst dressed wrestler in AEW for sure. And they said he dresses like a little kid, which I could see.
I don't. That's.
Yeah.
Hey, do you want to do the last bit?
Yeah.
Okay. If you want to shoot either me or Tony in the eye, that would be fine.
I'm not going to shoot Tony.
Thanks.
Okay. Just look at it. It's fine. It's a water pistol. This is not.
This is a bit.
Yes.
This is a bit.
Yeah. No, it's a bit.
Like it's gonna shoot this way.
Yeah. No, it's gonna shoot that way. Yeah. It's gonna shoot you in the. It was supposed to shoot you in the face, and it was gonna be funny.
He's he's more clever than he looks, and I'll be honest. Like, he's not known for his thinking. He's not known as the thinking man's wrestler, yet he always outsmarts his opponents. And we've seen him do it time after time. The Best Friends versus Santana Ortiz parking lot fight was one of the greatest matches we've had.
It was fantastic.
Fantastic. They crushed it. But in the end, Best Friends, what did they have? They had him in the trunk stashed, and they knew what they needed. He's a secret weapon. The thinking man's wrestler, Orange Cassidy. When he was in the cake, the thinking man's wrestler, Orange Cassidy. He's always, when Trent's in the minivan, he's always got a plan.
Yeah.
So
always one step ahead.
He really is.
Quick on your feet, quick in the mind.
I was thinking about this. Why is the handle on this side? Because if you're gonna drink, like you're using a left-handed drink.
Yeah, I'm left-handed.
But usually people are right-handed, so you can't see the logo.
But you can see it. You can see it.
It's for your own gratification.
Yeah. This is a gift for you and our guests. This is so you know that you're a Barstool.
Wait, do we get to keep this?
Yeah, of course you can.
No shit.
Well, I mean, I'm Brandon Walker. I make $38,000 a year. I can afford
what
to
does
expense
the F in
those.
Brandon F. Walker stand
Fucking.
for? That's what I thought.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't know if that's that.
No, it's good. That's good.
I won't lose my sponsors. My sponsors are all. They don't watch the show. All right, real quick. Let's circle back one more time. September 22nd, you're here in New York City. I can't wait for Arthur Ashe Stadium to be lit up with AEW Dynamite. I just the image that comes in my mind, Arthur Ashe Stadium is just it's this wonderful place for tennis. It's this wonderful place for sports, and then you guys are just going to take over. I can't even fathom what it's going to look like.
It's going to be so fun, and we're going to hang out with you here, but hopefully I'll see you before that. You're going to come to All Out?
I'm coming to September 5th in Chicago, correct?
All Out, yeah, Labor Day weekend.
I hope to be there. I also do college football, so I'm going to go to a college football game somewhere in this great country of ours. September 4th, catch a flight to Chicago, and I'm going to All Out, and then I hope full gear, all of it.
We're also going to do an Illinois football game. We're going to tailgate.
Yes, because you took great offense at. I have a team of trolls here that did a graphic. This is okay, right? I can say
please
this.
Tell them.
So I have a team of trolls here that did a graphic of the best tailgating in every state in the country, and for Illinois they did Northwestern. Which how many people tailgated at Northwestern? Like 7. And angriest text I've ever gotten from this guy. This guy's like, "What? WTF? What is going on? You need to get out to Illinois." I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa! First of all, I didn't do it. Just the
Well, you posted it. You disseminated it.
Of
You
course I did. Yes,
purported,
I was. Do you know how much engagement I got out of that? I just got so much engagement. I'm like, it was really just because I'm from Mississippi, and we did it so we could just tease the Ole Miss people and say, because they always like think they're the king of tailgating, so we put Mississippi State. I didn't even think of Northwestern and Illinois. I apologize, but I do. I want to get to Champaign. I actually am kind of excited for Bielema in Champaign, by the way.
Yeah, Brett's great.
I am excited because football's better with him in it. You know, wrestling is often better with certain guys in it.
Yeah.
I think college football is better with him in it. But I've started a conversation. We don't have time to
Well,
finish.
you know what? We're gonna go. We're gonna do that, and I'll see you at All Out, and hopefully you'll make it to some of the shows. Road Rager is gonna be a banger. Come visit us, man.
Yeah, Charlotte's not far either, and you got that. You got that down
Fight
there.
for the Fallen's a great event. We're gonna and it's always great when you do it for charity.
Listen, I'm an esteemed member of the press. I will be there, and I will do my job. Orange, we'll give you the last word. Go.
What state are we in again?
We're in New York City. We're on 7th
then
Avenue.
My favorite state is New York.
Just
To answer your question.
because that's where you exist right now.
He's been thinking about it the whole time. You asked him what his favorite state
I
was.
did.
Like an hour
You're right.
ago.
No, you're exactly right. I asked a question. He answered the question.
He's a thinking man's wrestler.
I appreciate you answering. Can we cut this, Arya?